So I wanted to cover Digimon Storytime Strangers in a non-gameplay sense, meaning more so the story itself and how I feel about the characters and how the story went out. I will probably do a more in-depth cover of this later, but I think it's important that I kind of get my thoughts on this out now. So I think that Digimon Storytime Strangers was trying to tell this really kind of serious, in-depth story about existence, and it kind of touches on, I guess you could say, religion in a way that I really, really do enjoy and I really do like. I don't know if any of you have read Magi, the Magical Labyrinth in the past, but this parallels really strongly sort of to Elder David and Solomon, where they kind of found out there's a whole like god tier system where everything is based on the will of the quote-unquote god of this realm, and everything else is subject to that will. Free will doesn't really exist, and everything sort of moves in the direction of said god's will, meaning that no matter what you do, you will always be trapped in said god's will. I believe in this case, the god we're looking at being homeostasis or Yggdrasil, controlling reality and fate, for example. So when Chronomon finds this out, he tries to rebel, of course, and then ends up being trapped in the book, so that he's now the controller or guardian of time, space, and yada yada. So I think while that is always a very interesting idea and approach for me, it's always kind of left at a lackluster resolution. Aigyomon becomes Jupitermon, and then from there he's now just this force of irreparable good, set to essentially do everything that Chronomon was doing, but good and better, and by the end cutscene apparently be free as well, or maybe that's the agent, I don't know. But I just feel like the way that ending is, it's so basic. There's nothing more, no depth there. There's no kind of further exploration of the idea of how do we get around this? How do we stop this? How do we get more out of this than just, okay, yeah, he just takes his place and that's the story done? Because in the end, Chronomon wins, right? The villain wins, he gets what he wants. He destroys everything to an extent and falls over forever, never comes back. Boom, place is taken by Jupitermon, he's happy, right? It just feels like if homeostasis was so... I mean, I guess you have to look at this from a point of view of, does it even really consider good or evil? I mean, it must do to an extent to bring the Royal Knights over to come and help this, serve Iliad. So it just begs the question of, I don't know, maybe I'm going on in circles, but what I'm trying to say is I feel like the idea that they had was good, but it was executed or resolved in a lackluster manner, because it's just essentially, okay, villain has plan, villain's plan succeeds, boom, villain wins. And then we just have to be okay with that. There's no other way they've gone around it. And I think this is also reflected sort of in the characters too, like Inori, very flat, kind of boring character. Her character is just this immovable force of good, this immovable force of love, of happiness, a forced happiness because she's kind of depressed about her brother. And it's just like, there should be more to the character than that, There should be dark moments where she's like this or like that. I mean, yes, she's sad sometimes, yes, she's upset sometimes, but it doesn't ever go deeper than that. She's always right back here to become this ray of sunshine and ray of light for Aigyomon and the others. And in the brief instance we even see Aigyomon depressed or whatever, it's just because she falls into the time thing and he becomes dark Aigyomon, but they don't really do anything with that either. I just feel like a lot of these story beats narratively are kind of weak. It's a bunch of good ideas put together so that once you've played through it the first time, kind of, it feels good, it flows well, and it gives the illusion of having more depth than it actually has. I don't really believe there's all that much depth in the characters because nobody's really explored. We don't really get to see what she's like without Aigyomon. We don't really get to see what he's like without her. We got a brief glimpse of it, but we didn't really get more. I mean, yes, we got the idea with the shadows and how they were him, and he tried to end himself before he was born, and I mean, that's nice and all, but it just feels tacked on. It doesn't really feel like it was explored or really even fleshed out. It's just something they threw on the end, like, oh, actually? Well, actually, Aigyomon was the bad guy all along. Like, I mean, it just feels tacked on. Like, the more I've played through the game and the story and really looked at it, the more I feel that while, yes, this game is good, the story is decent, it's just not really delving deep enough into the characters. It doesn't really give us more. It's kind of really surface level, to be honest. When I first started playing this game, the first thing I thought when I saw Inori was, why is her name Girl That Must Be Protected? I mean, I guess for some who don't really look at the game, I do, for example, some of these things would just be like, oh wow, big plot twist, big reveal. But the hints are there, and I know that's kind of the point. The hints are there. It's just, they don't really do very much else with it. They just hint, and then it just happens, right? There's no real build up to it. There's not a lot of foreshadowing stuff. It just happens. They just kind of drop it in your lap. They're like, well, we gave you some breadcrumbs, and now here it is. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel rewarding to an extent. I mean, I guess a lot of you may be feeling the same sentiment, or some of you may feel the same sentiment once you've gone into your second playthroughs. But my first playthrough was a lot better than the second playthrough. Once I went back and played through it again, it just kind of felt jarring in some places. Some of the missions felt really jarring and out of place, like the feed, the alcoholic guy with alcohol, and that just felt really out of place. The tone was just kind of, and that's another thing. Sometimes the tone is just, it's supposed to be serious, but it's jokey, and it's like, well, that doesn't really feel like, it just makes me want to skip, because it's like, okay, I can't take this seriously when I feel like I'm supposed to be taking this seriously. I mean, all in all, I think the story was interesting, but it lacked a lot of exploration. It didn't really dive deep into a lot of these ideas. Some of the characters were kind of forgettable, like the friend who was aggravating at the start. She was completely forgettable. The scientist dude guy, he was completely forgettable. Her father seemed interesting at the start, completely forgettable. It just boils down to Agumon and Inori, and I guess that's kind of the point, but then it just makes the game feel not so good because the other characters don't really matter or don't really even exist. I don't know. There's also the side quests. A lot of those just kind of spring up on you at random, when they could probably do a bit more to explore some stuff, just explore more depth into some of the other characters maybe. And one thing that I really, really, really hated in this game was the fact that they give you multiple choices for interactions that do absolutely nothing. Why would I have multiple choices for dialogue if it doesn't really do anything? In a game like Storytime Strangers, I would expect that my choices of dialogue, or how I choose to do things in the game, would affect the outcome of things. Why would I have multiple choices if they all lead to the same thing? I guess maybe it's an allegory to the idea that there's no free will, because no matter which choice you pick, at the end of the day, it's always going to have the same result, right? But I feel like this game should have allowed us to kind of choose the outcome. If we chose this, then this should have happened instead of this. There should have been a case where we realistically had the choice not to do anything and to just let everything end. And then Chronomon would be stuck in his position. It would be the ultimate middle finger to him, because then his plans are foiled. We all kind of fall over for it, but hey, his plans are foiled. I mean, that's the choice I would pick. But it just feels like, why include this if you're not going to flesh it out? And that's kind of the theme for this video, is everything. They include a lot of things that they don't really flesh out. We don't really get fleshed out. We don't really get to flesh out the Yggdrasil adjacent, or the homeostasis adjacent, or whoever the third one's adjacent was. We don't really flesh those out. Or the father, for example, or the friend. Yes, we get a basic overlook on them, but they don't really delve in deeper. Or even the in-between itself. I wish they did more with that. There could have been much more that happened with that. I feel like they just could have and should have given and done more. And I know I may sound ungrateful, because the game is still a good game, but narratively I think the game kind of falls apart. I think it's kind of weak narratively. I also think that the choice to have Agumon forced onto all of our teams, as well as the supporting cast, is absolutely infuriating. I don't want to have these bums on my team. I don't want to have these frauds on my team. I don't want Agumon on my team. He's dookie. I hate him. Get him off my team. It's a waste of turns. He's ass. He's bad. He's trash. I hate him. Hate him. It's just a couple of decisions I just wish they had reevaluated a bit more before they made them. So all in all, I would like to sum it up as this. Digimon Storytime Strangers, for me, as a narrative story-based game, is more of a 5 out of 10. Maybe pushing 6, but I would say it's more of a 5 out of 10. Story beats are just weak. It's boring for 70-80% of the game. Completely uninteresting. Characters are kind of flat. Don't really flesh out too much. Don't really expand on too much. It just kind of doesn't really hold up all that well, in my opinion. I think I know people know that I have the stance if this game should have had PvP. I think that this game, if we were going to be looking at it as a story-only game with no PvP, then the story should have been a lot stronger and a lot more cohesive than it was. So on that note, I would say I think Digimon Story Time Stranger missed the mark. I would say while it was a roaring success in terms of sales and a fun game to play, I think as a narrative story, it's kind of a failure. It kind of falls flat. I don't think this game has much replayability value because the story is not that interesting. It's kind of predictable in a lot of places, and it's kind of boring in a lot of places. You can almost word for word predict what some of these characters are going to say because they are just that basic. And I'm especially talking about Aigomon. Absolute boring character. Chronomon too. Again, while I love the idea of this god system that has been established where everything is subject to the will of that thing, I feel like they didn't really do enough with that to make it interesting. It's just kind of a nothing burger. I don't know. I still enjoyed the game, but I'd say for a Digimon game, compared to the ones I've played, because I haven't played all that many, it's a good game. You should pick it up. But I think if you were looking for a very strong narrative piece that can keep you hooked and invested with very strong story beats, this isn't the game for you. I don't think it's the game for you. Anyway, with that being said, let's bring the video to a close. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you'd like to see more, be sure to subscribe. If there's anything you'd like to go over, any ideas, or anything you're curious about, be sure to leave it in the comment section below. I do check all my comments. If you guys really wanted to support the channel, then be sure to check out the channel memberships. It's like $2 a month, and there's a lot of really cool perks and stuff you get from it. So, with that being said, I would just like to give a shout out to the current channel members: Goovy, Isaac Walker, Suspicious Toast, Charisma, Whitecrad90, Christian L. As always, you guys are the GOATs, and thanks for supporting the channel. Anyway, that belongs to you. Take care.